Hey, welcome to Nourishable. I'm Dr. Lara. The COVID-19 pandemic has everyone rethinking how they interact with highly trafficked surfaces. At the grocery store, there are wipes for your cart and sanitizer for your hands. But what happens in the fresh produce department? There are hands all over that produce, from the supply chain to grocery store employees to other customers. I recently made a video with grocery shopping tips, and I shared some suggestions about how to handle that fresh produce once you got home. I received some feedback on that video, and thank you so much for your comments. There's some controversy about whether you should wash your produce with soap and water. So today, let's take a look at the data and the recommendations to see the safest way to eat those fruits and veggies during COVID-19 and beyond, because this pandemic will end eventually. Let's science it. Our overall question is whether you should wash your fresh produce with soap and water. But given the context of the current COVID-19 pandemic, there's a few other questions embedded within it. And a quick note to my future viewers, hello! This situation is dynamic, so follow the latest recommendations of your local health authorities. First question, how long does the novel coronavirus last on porous surfaces, like fruits and veggies? We don't know. A study published in the New England Journal of Medicine showed that it can last on cardboard for 24 hours and on plastic and metal for up to 3 days. And the CDC reported that coronavirus was detected after 17 days in an isolated cruise ship cabin. But that apple? Don't know. So out of an abundance of caution, let's consider our produce contaminated with coronavirus. Second question, can you get infected with coronavirus by eating contaminated food? According to the FDA, there have been no reported cases of anyone getting COVID-19 from food or food packaging to date. COVID-19 is a respiratory illness, so it's different from the other foodborne illnesses caused by viruses like the norovirus. So it looks pretty unlikely that you could get COVID-19 from eating coronavirus-laced food. And just for the record, that whole story about Americans thinking they can get coronavirus from drinking a Corona beer, not true. Just some survey questions taken out of context. Third question, but what if you touch coronavirus-contaminated produce and then you touch your eyes, nose, or mouth? Could you get COVID-19 this way? There are many people who have touched your apple before you bring it home. And given that people can be asymptomatic for so long, it's certainly possible that your apple is contaminated with coronavirus. But let's take a step back. The latest CDC statements indicate that the primary mode of transmission is person to person through droplets. And that's why social distancing is so important. The CDC states that it is possible that you could get infected by touching a contaminated surface and then touching your face. So far, there's no evidence of anyone getting COVID-19 from touching coronavirus-contaminated produce, but feasibly it's possible? And that brings us back to our original question of whether you should wash your fresh produce with soap and water. A few things to set a baseline. Pandemic or not, you should always wash your produce before eating it. Many authorities like the FDA, the USDA, and the National Science Foundation all recommend washing produce by rinsing it under cold running water. No soap involved. This even goes for products that you peel, like bananas and oranges. For produce that have tougher skins, like potatoes, you can scrub with a brush for extra abrasion. But this novel coronavirus is a tricky little bug because it has a rather oily outer membrane. This means that the coronavirus could be resistant to a water-only rinse. Now, the reason that soap and water work so well for our hands is because soap is both hydrophilic and hydrophobic, meaning it's both water-loving and water-hating. The hydrophobic parts of the soap will disrupt the membrane of the virus and kill it to essentially cause all of its viral guts to spill out. Mix this with the abrasion of scrubbing your hands for 20 seconds, and you can effectively remove most of the microbes from your hands. If soap and water works for your hands, then it should work for your produce too. I think that rationale is where the original recommendation came from to wash your produce in soap and water. But not so fast. Typical household soaps, like dish soap and hand soap, are not meant to be consumed. Since fruits and vegetables are porous, soap can seep in and not get rinsed off. If soap is consumed, it can cause symptoms like nausea, GI distress, and poisoning, though the concentrations of soapy residue left after rinsing are probably too low to cause poisoning. But GI distress? That's never a good time. To summarize, here's what we know. It is super important to eat fruits and veggies for health. Right now, when you buy fruits and veggies at the grocery store, it's possible that they are contaminated with coronavirus. You want to avoid transferring that coronavirus to your respiratory tract or to other surfaces in your home. We don't know how long coronavirus can last on produce, and we don't know the best methods to specifically get coronavirus off of produce. So what should you do? I'll tell you how I'm taking in this info, unknowns and all. The greatest risk of getting coronavirus is still from human to human transmission. So I'm taking social distancing very seriously. Apart from walking my dog, the only time I've been leaving my house is to go grocery shopping every 2 weeks. And when I'm at the grocery store, I'm using the wipes, I'm using the hand sanitizer, I'm keeping 6 feet away from other people, and I'm just trying to be as quick and efficient as possible. When I get home, I'm washing my hands and then wiping down all the hard surfaces of packaging with household cleaners before storage. Last time I went grocery shopping, I did wash all my produce in soap and water. I had never done that before, but I was scared. But after digging into the data some more, I'm going to be rinsing my produce in cold running water and then store in fresh containers. I will be vigilantly washing my hands with soap and water before food prep, during food prep, and before eating. COVID-19 or not, frequent hand washing around food prep is a really good habit to get into. The answer to our question is no, you should not wash your produce with soap and water. I think one of the reasons that I fell down this whole produce washing during COVID rabbit hole is because it's really scary these days. Grocery shopping is definitely the riskiest thing that I'm doing right now, so I want to take every precaution possible. Taking really extreme measures like washing all my produce in soap and water makes me feel like I'm more in control. But feelings aren't facts. We don't have any facts showing that it's necessary. We have some facts to show that it could be harmful. Links to all my references in the video description. So eat those fruits and veggies, wash your produce with water, your hands with soap, and keep physically distant but socially close. That's what science tastes like.